Welcome to Dependable Flame, where we explore vintage petrol lighters, ashtrays, tobacconiana, and other useful mechanisms. Make yourself at home. Today we are going to talk about the lighters that you see before you and discuss which one is most suitable for everyday use. We have a Zippo. We have 3 Penguin Cygnus pocket lighters, and we have 1 Imco 6700 Triplex Super. I am at the moment filling up this Zippo insert with Petrol fuel. You can see that this insert has a rubber gasket on the bottom of it, which does help a little bit in regard to the evaporation of a Zippo lighter. We've talked about that many times here on the channel, and the evaporation of a Zippo is definitely an issue. The Penguin Cygnus lighters are sometimes very quick to evaporate their fuel, yet they function very well. I've made the statement on more than one occasion that I believe that these Penguin Cygnus roller aluminum block petrol lighters are impervious to vapor lock. There has been a video or two recently where you might call me a liar for making that statement, but I stand by it simply because that has been my experience. More times than not, you fuel up a Penguin Cygnus lighter, even if you have overfilled it, like I have with this one, so I will shake that out here in a moment off camera. But even if you overfill them, they typically will fire right up. Let's shake this out off camera right quick. Get our fuel cap on this lighter. And then we will wipe it free of any fuel that overflowed there because there was some coming out of the wick. This gold tone Cygnus with the fancy engraved scroll work was just fueled up yesterday. We put the wick that was in it back in it because I was taking it apart to try to determine what kind of wick it had in it, forgetting that I had put an Imco wire lead wick in here a few years ago. But you can see that that lighter fires up very reliably. All of the Cygnus are going to be the same. For the most part, when you need them to fire up, they are firing up. But you can say the same thing about a Zippo lighter. The ignition rate is very good in Zippos, just like it is in the Cygnus lighters. But it is also really good in this Imco 6700. The Imco 6700 is what is rightly referred to as a semi-automatic mechanism. Actuating the button lights the lighter and raises the snuffer, but you still have to close the snuffer to put the flame out. Now, one negative that I have discovered with this Imco 6700 Triplex Super is that with the kinds of things that I light, we've talked about this on many occasions before, it's not so simple as just having a flame and touching the end of what I'm smoking to it and inhaling like you do with a commercially produced tobacco cigarette. There are often times that it takes me a while twisting and twirling the end of that joint in that flame and then blowing on the end of the joint to get it to burn evenly before I start inhaling it. But just like right at the moment, that entire upper portion of the lighter, including the snuffer is not as hot as the windscreen, but this whole area up here is pretty warm just from the amount of time that the lighter was lit just now. Now, the one thing that I will say is important to me when it comes to determining which lighter is the best, the most suitable for everyday use, is that I must be able to light my joint in the wind. That is where Zippo fails. We have talked about this many times. It's a nice flame on a Zippo. I've got the wick protruding out the top of that one so I can use it for pipes. But the truth of the matter is, when I try to light a joint and holding the tip of that joint in that flame for a long period of time, like is usually necessary, I'm not going to be able to keep it on the flame because the flame is going to be dancing around in the wind. That makes a Zippo pretty much useless to me in the wind. Now, I would not say the same thing about the Cygnus lighters, because even though there is no windscreen, they ignite very reliably, and especially with using your hand as a hedge against the wind, then you can keep one lit for a pretty good amount of time, and it's not got such a large flame that it's just dancing around there, ducking and bobbing to where you can't catch up with it. So I would say that a Cygnus lighter is better in the wind than a Zippo, but of course we all know that a lot of Cygnus lighters have really short fuel life. The fuel economy in them, just like this one, this plain silver tone ribbed model, is about 2 days. Now this lighter is equipped with a paper gasket, which is the way that it came originally. The other two Cygnuses that you see in front of you are equipped. This one is not actually a Cygnus. This one is marked Cornwall Slimline, even though I am certain that it was made in the same factory. But you can see there where it has a nice hefty rubber seal on that fuel gasket, or on that fuel seal, that fuel screw. And that rubber seal apparently gives this lighter a much greater fuel life than even this other Cygnus that, other than the embellishments, mechanically it is pretty much the same. Maybe the snuffer closes a little tighter. This one does kind of snap down. So the areas where you're going to be concerned about evaporation are from the wick and from the fuel screw. And I just don't think that there is any fuel evaporating out of the fuel screw in these gold tone lighters because they have the rubber seals on the fuel cap. And that brings us back around to the Imco 6700, which has been a very reliable igniter as I take a walk on a daily basis and light up a joint. I've had no problem out there in the Oklahoma wind, even though I might have to occasionally use my hand to cup around it to protect it from the wind. That's not good enough with a Zippo, where with an Imco, I haven't had to cup my hand around it as often. And every time that I have tried to light my joint with this Imco, it has been successful. I have given up on more than one occasion with the Zippo in the wind, and I have not needed to do that as yet with this Imco 6700 triplex. You can see that it stays lit for a long time when you need it to. The fuel economy on this one is also very good, way longer than a Zippo, and longer even than our Cygnuses that will last us a week or so. This Imco 6700 Super seems like it is lasting at least a couple of weeks, and I'm a little reticent to try to let it run out because I've been using it. I've been depending on it, and I don't want to get out there and find out that I've ran out of fuel when I need to light my joint and then have to run back upstairs just to fill the lighter back up with petrol fuel. You also do have some control over the size of the flame, although that's not really an issue to me. But you can control that by maneuvering the windscreen cover up and then keeping it down, which may help you in certain conditions. Whether it is up or down in windy conditions, you may need to try both. I've had no problem with it igniting in the wind, nor have I had any problems with it staying lit and being able to get the tip of my joint down there on it to light up when I needed it. So I did watch a lot of videos over the last couple days on the Imco 6700 XXX Super. Comrade T-Man had a couple of them. The second one that he owned was, I believe, an original. The first one was one of the current Chinese-made, no longer made in Austria models. But T-Man said he gave that original Austrian Imco an 8 or a 9 out of 10. While he gave the Chinese-made copy a 2 or 3 out of 10, so he was more impressed with the original Austrian model than he was with the Chinese copy. Whereas Zippo Fanatic 77 Outdoors, in the last video of his that I watched on the Imco 6700 yesterday, he said that he liked the Chinese copies better. He did talk a lot about the flint system in this lighter and the way that it is similar to an old style stapler. But regardless, I have not had one of the Chinese copies in my hand. This is one that, just like T-Man, was from a company called Restoration Hardware and was made in and imported from Austria. The one that came in the paper sleeve back apparently before these began to be manufactured in China for a Japanese company. But the lighter works really well. The only thing that I would really warn against with this lighter is how hot this upper portion can get when you leave it lit, which is going to happen when you're lighting joints. You can also use it to light your pipe. Just an excellent lighter that I've been using as the EDC everyday carry that I've depended on the most. And to be honest, I think it is more suitable for everyday use than either the Zippo or the Penguin Cygnus. Until next time.